Hi viewers, I'm here with you with another episode of Tech Time. As we bring different people with diverse backgrounds and diverse experiences. Today I have a very unique but very beautiful personality with us who's doing the work for women, who's standing as a woman for the right of women. She's a women right activist and author regarding those issues which we Southeast Asian families, especially women, face when they move to a very different culture, to a very different family, to a world where they have tremendous opportunities without gender discrimination. I will welcome Ms. Aruna Papp to our program Tech Time. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So Aruna, you just had been to India recently. Was it having connection with what your work is, like women rights?
Well, there were two reasons why I went to India. First of all, I had not returned to India for 42 years.
Oh, wow.
So for me, I wanted to go back and see the schools that I went to, attended, and meet my teachers who are now in their 90s and visit friends, that sort of thing. But I also wanted to learn about what is happening in the issue of honor-based violence, and what are the people in universities thinking about gender roles. How are the girls experiencing it, and how are the boys experiencing it in high school and in university. So it was both for me, you know, a personal journey, but also a work-related journey.
That is double the taste for a cup of tea.
Yes.
So how would you say that when you were there at that time, like 40 years back, and now you see India after 40 years, what is your experiences regarding the different family social problems, and especially the women rights as they are having right now, proceeding towards a very big nation which people really admire and look forward to?
India today, 40 years from when I was there, is a different country. I did not remember it the way it was. It is absolutely mind-boggling how different it is. So for me, it was very much like a tourist, because everything had changed. My old neighborhood had changed. Of course, there is the modernization of the whole country. Wherever you go, the village that I grew up in is not a village anymore. It's a city. You know, so those things have changed that are visible as well. But there is a different kind of excitement, intellectual excitement that is happening. There is a fast pace of life that was not there. People are in so much hurry. Also, in the olden days, people did not knock on, phone and make appointments to visit each other. Today, it's very westernized, making appointments, phoning even your sister or brother and saying, can I come over, what are you doing? Those kinds of things have changed. So that kind of role has changed. Very few families are still living in joint families, for example. Even if they live in the same town, everybody has individual homes. So that has changed as well. But on the plus side as well, more women are working, and those women who were poor always worked outside the home. But the middle class has expanded, and more women are out in the workforce. But what has not changed for them is very similar to what is happening in Canada and elsewhere in the world, that they are not only working in offices and colleges and hospitals, whatever, but they're also totally responsible for families. The male has and the in-laws and the children's education. So that's almost the same as in Canada. It's not different. You know, women here work, and even if they're CEOs, they still have to come back and say who did the homework and who didn't do the homework. It's the same there as well. So life is very fast-paced. The thing that was mind-boggling for me is a lot of people are eating out. So the CEO or the lady who is working outside, instead of cooking at home, she's very comfortable stopping at a restaurant, picking up food and bringing home. So that has changed as well, and that shows how much money there is. You know, so those are the positive things, and women are the ones who are trying to balance. So that's not changed there or in Canada.
You're very well saying that the problem of women is around the world. It's historical fact that women are always having a lot of issues because of being women. But my question is here is that when we migrate to another country, we bring all our baggage with that. So what are the reasons when we are having similar things, but when those families are moved to Canada, they have a lot of issues, especially women abuse? How do you look at them?
First thing I want to say is that the South Asian community is a very large community. So I don't know that everybody in the South Asian community is having those kind of problems. Okay? So when we talk about women's problems, we need to say only those people who are my clients, those who are in trouble, are the ones we're talking about. So we don't want to take a big brush and paint everybody. All South Asians are beating their wives and children. They're not. But there are conflicts, as you say, about cultural conflicts, but that's happening in the back, in the old country as well as here. Well, what happens here is that women have an opportunity to stand up and say, I am a person, I am working, I have a say in how the family money is going to be used, for example. And back home, we didn't do that. So my role is looking after the children, my role is looking after their education, you know, and I'm using this as an example, and the husband can look after the money part. But here, that independence is there. If you want to educate yourself further, that is there as well. So there are a lot of areas that are open to women here, regardless of their background. So women have the opportunities, but the men are still in the same place where they were. Every man wants to have a wife, and that definition of wife is in their minds. Okay. Cooking, cleaning, look after the children and whatnot, that's where the conflict happens. But the women say, but I went to work, I'm doing double duty, I'm doing triple duty, can't you help with this, can't you? Because now we don't have servants. For example. So that creates a conflict in the family. That's not a cultural problem. Okay. The cultural problem is, hear me, I have a thought, I have an opinion, I have a choice. And the men are not used to that. The mother-in-laws are not used to that. The father-in-laws are not used to it. They are used to having girls who are very quiet, young brides who are very quiet. What happens is, young men from Canada, other Western countries, go to India, for example, marry and bring a wife, and they think, I'm going to get a submissive, quiet Indian girl and very well educated. They don't know that she's quite westernized also. She can think, she can make decisions, and she wants to be a person, just like, so that's the conflict. I went back to get an Indian wife, you're not an Indian wife. Oh, what is an Indian wife? That's the conflict happening.
So this is the question which my mind is right now asking me, that what are the things which government is doing for all these? Because obviously men has certain expectations, very I understand that third world countries, especially India, has done a lot of things. It's now into the first nations, first 4 or 5 biggest economically successful, democratically successful countries. Then why is it happening that women are, when they are in here, even if they don't have cross-cultural marriages, within their own culture, they are facing so much abuses, and they do not know, they are not aware that how strongly protected they are, and what are the measures government is taking regarding that?
In the old country, the women have no place to go. If they have problems at home, They have no shelters, no government support, no in-law support, no community support. So they keep quiet and they stay there, right? That doesn't mean they're not having problems. They are having problems, but the culture says you be quiet. There is no place outside in the community if you're a divorced woman. There are today many divorced women, okay, many divorced, but there are issues, okay? But when they come to Canada, they have the feeling that I am a person, I am important, I have a say, and I ought to be heard. This is my right. But they learn those opportunities quickly, but they don't always register with the husband or the in-laws. They still want to control her and say, do as I say. And when they say, no, I have a point of view, that causes a problem. And so women don't want to be controlled mentally.
By making their own choices how they want to look. But here we are having a lot of family issues, because it's not only when a family moves, a whole family needs to work. Whole family is going through a lot of culture shock, no matter how westernized, how the outlook is, but it's the thought process of visualizing the things into a certain way which makes a civilization different than the other one. So when we move to West, especially in our country, Canada, which gives so much opportunity to people. So what are the ground roots of the problem, and what do you see the solutions for that?
When we say that there are lots of problems in the South Asian family, we have to look at it at one problem at a time. For example, white Anglo-Saxon families also have problems. We also have problems. We have teenagers' problems that are normal problems. Husband and wife fighting over money, normal problems, right? But there is a way of reaching a solution. You sit down and talk because you're equal. Not every white person does that. There's wife abuse in the white community as well. But when we talk about culture, there are families who cannot step out of the cultural traditional roles. And that is, the husband says, make me some tea. If he says 15 times, make me tea, she has to get up and make 15 tea, right? So in his mind, he said, well, what's wrong? I only asked for a cup of tea, right? But you've asked 15 times, and every time she has to jump and get me. So that's a cultural brainwashing. He cannot see what's wrong. But if you look at, as a counselor, you know, it's him telling her to jump up all the time. And he says, what's wrong? You used to make tea in India too. Well, she used to tell the servant and the servant made it. So those are cultural, those are personality, because we brainwash our children. Women do this, wives do this, husbands do this, and so we transport those things here. Mother-in-laws do the same thing. They'll pick up the phone and they'll invite this son and his family, that son and his family come for dinner, but they don't tell the daughter-in-law whose house they are in. So now you have 13 people coming for dinner and she only cooked for 7 people. Oh, what's wrong? Get up and make some more. Well, she just came back from work, but she's the mother-in-law, right? That's cultural. And that the daughter-in-law can do it once, she can do it twice, she can do it, but for doing it all the time, it becomes an issue. So it is cultural in that mother-in-law's expectations are, well, she's the daughter-in-law, she better wash my feet when I say so. And the daughter-in-law says, I can do it once in a while, but it's 12:30 and I'm still making 300 rotis. That's a problem.
So basically, it's as I see, the difference between Canadian society and Southeast Asian community society is this, that the mothers play a very big role actually. So women are abusing women. When we train our kids, we say that either it is my boy or my girl, they are different. But when we are raising them as Canadian, we don't say that, oh, you have to wash the dishes because you're a girl. We don't say that. We say it is the job of the family, regardless it's a boy or it's a girl. So, how would you describe Southeast Asian family, women abusing women living in Canada?
South Asians are Indian, Pakistani, Sri Lankan, Bangladeshi. So we call ourselves South Asians, okay? And other parts of the world, there is preference for sons as well. But we grow up, and I'm not talking just about the community itself. I've done the same thing. I do, and it's a programming. Okay, I had teenage daughters. They would come home, and I would say, "Did you eat?" "No." "I cooked this. It's here. It's in the fridge. Go help yourself." Another one will come, and she'll say, "Have you eaten?" "No." "Well, the food is here." My son, 6'2", 17-year-old, he will come in and say, "Have you eaten?" And he will say, "No." I say, "I'll make your plate."
It's very typical of.
I'll make your plate. So that is how we serve our sons. We don't even think about it. We'll tell the daughters, "Do your laundry," and to our sons, we'll say, "Beta, where's your laundry?" "Oh, what's wrong with him putting the machine, and doing the laundry?"
And we don't even realize that we are making their mentality go like that with this discrimination.
Absolutely.
And it is also simultaneously affecting the mentality of the girl, because
Absolutely.
she must be crumbling inside.
No, the daughters are Canadian. They will stand up and say, "Why can't he do it?" And then all of a sudden, those of us who are mothers are on the boy's side. "Well, he's just a boy. He's just a boy," And the daughters are saying, "No, he can start a washing machine just like I can." And that is our cultural programming that we do. And it's just the same thing, like husband saying 15 times, "Make me tea." Making the tea is not the problem. Expecting her to jump every time he says, and then not understanding what's the problem. That's the problem.
So now I will come to another point, like marriages, especially more than one marriage, is disturbing the whole idea of the institution of family, and it changes the dynamics, how people work together, because it's very difficult for two women to live together, or I mean in this society where
It's against the law.
It's against the law, and it is also very difficult financially and economically. People are doing under the table this way, that way, So how would you say that how government can help to empower the liberty of women regarding that?
Well, polygamy, having more than one wife in Canada, is a very complicated issue. Why? Because in other parts of the world, it is allowed. It's legal. So they have 3 wives. So legally, they are supposed to bring all 3 wives. In Canada, now, it has been, but now more so, it's not allowed. The new bill, S7, and it tells us that one man, one wife is enough. In the past, what has happened, and I witnessed this because I've been in this business for 35 years, is that they would bring one wife and then legally divorce her, okay, and then bring the second wife and then legally divorce her, and then 3. So in 5 or 6 years, they will have all 3 wives here in different apartments, and then there'll be 17 children, and everybody will be on welfare.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just South Asians doing it. There are people coming from other parts of the world as well. Okay, so it's very hard for government to support all the new immigrants who come and go straight on welfare. That's one thing. But if you have 17 children, then the father is not going to be able to pay attention to all these children. And then that leads to abuse. One wife is better, all that. So we've gone through all that. We have gone through dozens and dozens and dozens of cases like that. And it is destructive to the new generation. Yeah? So as far as government resources are concerned, it's a problem. The community, it's a problem, and the new generation, it is a problem. So the new bill is going to make sure that those who are living in other parts of the world and have 2 or 3 wives can only bring 1.
I don't know how much it is going to, it's very interesting, actually, very interesting, delicate phenomena. and a law. But when we move into a different society with this kind of differences, we need a therapeutic treatment for integration of the whole 1825 4 number of people. So here come the delicacies of the government's involvement and the psychiatrist and therapist, their understanding. How do you vision them? What is your experience as an activist for a long time? You're experiencing all that.
Let me just get back to the South Asian community, because I work with the South Asian community. Our biggest problem right now is forced marriages. Okay, teenagers, boys and girls, men and women. What happens is, as soon as the parents start to feel that a young girl, let's talk about a young girl first, is not following the parents' orders, or not following the home rules, or is challenging, badtamisi, challenging and saying, no, I want to do this, or disrespect one. So what our cultural brainwashing is, let's get her married, she will settle down.
Her husband will take care of her. She will learn when she will be even in a difficult situation where she has nothing else.
Absolutely.
So here comes, she is mentally tortured because she has no idea how to handle that situation.
And she's a child.
Yeah, she's a child.
In Canada, she's grown up in a protective environment. So many of these girls are taken to the old country and married off, and they are surprised, they don't know, they are not told, and so that is happening. A lot of this is happening in UK as well, and it's a published knowledge that in UK 2 summers ago, the UK social workers told all the schools to tell the girls that if you are being forced to go to the old country, put a teaspoon in your underwear and the airport authorities will stop you. So in 1 month, 1,700 girls were stopped in UK. So that's a lot of girls that are being forced out of the country. In UK, and UK is a small country. So this is happening in Canada as well. It is happening to young boys as well, and we don't talk about what is happening to the boys. I met a 27-year-old man who was married back home in the old country when he was a child. He graduated from Toronto University, he was doing well, and he took his girlfriend, he's been dating her for 6 years, and said, Mom and Dad, she's from our caste, she's this is her family, and I'm sure you will like her. Parents said, no, you're already married. And he had a breakdown. So what happens is, these are the personal issues that parents believe they have control over. They have the right to find the spouse, the husband or the wife for their child, and they don't ask them. But they also use marriage as a punishment, a rehabilitation.
For some people, it
can be.
You don't need to. We usually in Muslim culture they call that you have heaven or earth on earth.
Yeah.
Because if you get a good wife, your life is in heaven. But if you get a bad wife, you're living in a hell.
Well, if you get a bad husband, you're in hell too.
This is what I'm going to say. I don't know about the women, how do they feel, but every man feels like, empowerment, that, oh my God, I am so blessed that I have. They don't realize that how much torture the women is getting,
Yeah, but the man, he can push her around, and he thinks he's the boss.
He's the boss.
And he's living in heaven.
Yeah.
But women don't have a choice.
They don't have a choice.
They can't have 4 husbands, yes.
Not only, they can't have 4 husbands, and on the top of it, they are trained that way culturally, that they are more submissive, more adjusting, accommodating. Men do not think that when they are adjusting, it's for the sake of the family's betterment. They are also the same part. They are putting up the same effort as they should be putting in.
I have a big problem with women saying, this is my kismet. God meant it this way. I have to suffer. Well, if you're suffering, what do you think the children are? You get up with a suffering face in the morning, and your children are looking at your face and go, oh, Mom is suffering, I should be suffering too. Because what mother does, how mother acts, that's how the daughter is going to act. And if the mother's marriage is really hell, you think the daughter wants to get married? I don't think so. She's going to want to run because she doesn't want to be. So those are the conflicts that we are dealing with. And when I talk to their husbands, for example, they say, what is the problem? What is her
she's
problem?
all right. She's not, I'm the smartest person. I'm giving her everything. And what she is doing in return, she has nothing to do.
She only cleans the house.
She's on, and you know what? Material is the world we are living in. Material values. We don't value anything else.
The 30 years that I've been working with families, not just women, I work with men as well and children and the families. And I will say this is my experience. South Asian women, they don't want anything. All they want is respect. They will stay with 2, 3 outfits. They will stay in a small house. All they say, I just want my husband's respect. That's it. Well, what does that respect look like?
It's the sincerity towards your family, your wife. You know, you can do. This is what I was coming to the point, that every culture has very beautiful things.
Absolutely.
But they are, when it is in their corrupted form, when they are used corruptedly, then they are really nightmares.
So this is the point that you just made, that in our culture, respect for a wife is very important, right? But as mothers, do we teach our sons how to respect the wife? No. What we teach them is what I did to my son. Let me make your plate. You know, that means next time when he has a wife, she is supposed to get up and make his plate.
Exactly.
Okay? So that programming is ours. So when people say to us, what will the government do? I say, keep the government out. Fix the problems of the family in the family and in the community. What happens is, in our community, the families will go to those who are pandits or imams or who are religious leaders in the community. And they have the same programming. They say, the wife's role is this and the husband's role is this. So why don't you get up and make tea 15 times?
No,
so
I would interrupt, sorry, with this interruption. Actually, here, again, a very fine line comes. Because if you see from, as we discussed before, that the 3 wives are allowed, but in Canadian culture we don't accept that. Similar ways, when you go to a imam or to a pandit or to any other priest, they will say that a good wife, this is the role of a woman into the religion, that a good wife, good daughter has to do it. But this is the point where we are so helpless. It is contradictory to the Canadian system with the religious pouches which is making, and then when we have to see the bigger picture, we are destroying our youth with endless possibilities which they have. They have beautiful minds, they have unlimited potential availability for them, and we are contributing in a Canadian society along with our own system, because when we are giving a good atmosphere to our kids, we are looking forward to a better generation. So
in the family, we don't see human rights, okay? Because we do not see the wife or the daughter as a human being, even in the language, okay? For example, a man will say, if somebody else's wife is walking into the room, he says, aap yahan baithiye, aap ye kijiye, aap ye, with respect. And for their wife, they will say, tu wahan kyun khadi hai? Tu, right? Oh, why can't he say aap to her? Well, it's not his mentality. What, I should respect her, I should do izzat to her, you know. So for in their brain, and I've had this conversation so many times. I said, why are you telling me aap and why are you telling her tu?
And not only that, they say, oh, I have earned the respect of the people because I am so good. They don't realize that once you're married, you're a unit.
Yes.
One's disrespect is another person's disrespect, because you're taking the baggage together. So that is a very big issue, because most of the men in our culture, unfortunately, do not realize that. They do not take family institution as a serious institution, which is going to be the baggage for the whole family, not only for them, but their children, because it is very true that whatever we are doing, it is cultivating our next generation's problems and all that. So, Aruna ji, you had a very good vision, but how would you describe what can we contribute? How can we start making a little difference of stopping that attitude of our system and our society?
So one thing I just want to point out and comment on what you just said, our men and all men think that way. That's not so, because there are men in our community who are very supportive of their wives and their daughters, but the cultural problem is they are supposed to respect their mothers. So there's the conflict. If mother-in-law is being difficult and the wife is on this side, he has to choose, and he is expected to choose with the mother. Okay, so that cultural problem exists and needs to be rethought and retweaked as well. At the same time, the daughter-in-laws also have to weigh and say, these people, how can we find a mediation there? Okay, so that is one of the things that we need to do as a family, and sit down and say, what is the problem and how can all four people be happy with the solution? There has to be a solution that everybody can live with, because if they don't, then there'll be violence and there'll be police and the family will break away. So it's not the whole community, but there are issues that need to be discussed.
Viewers, we had a very, very productive discussion with Aruna ji today. What I could understand is that, yes, the system is very difficult, but we are human beings. We are struggling together what our system as a Canadian society has reached after so many experiences, concrete discussions and concrete researches. We should feel blessed that we have entered to a country which is giving us every privilege, every knowledge which we don't need to struggle what we were struggling in our back home. When we bring our baggage, we expect to be accommodated. We have to take a step. We have to see the positives. When we work as a family, we suffer as a family. We should be nourishing as a family. So one person helps the other person regardless of their gender and regardless of their egos, because one person is prosperous, healthy in the family, it helps and it affects the whole family. Women abuse is not a new thing. It's historically proven that women have more issues. But what good thing is we are living in 21st century where we have so many experiences, conclusions, and some of the answers of our problems. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. You must have a lot of questions. You have a lot of people who are helping your community with your people by the help of our government. We want to look forward to our generation healthy and beautiful, and we want to stand for the right of a woman as an individual participating, because she, I believe, can do everything and anything, but she should choose and she should be accepted whatever her choice is as an individual. With these words, you take care. We will see each other next time.